on everything that on you for that day. The pressure is you've got to present and get this done, mate.
Have you had any scenarios so far that have kind of been a bit like life-changing for you, and then having to go home and be dad, yay, happy, but something at work? Like, can you divulge into any of that, or would you rather?
Yeah, like, no, I can talk about anything, mate. I don't know what it is. I honestly put it down to acting.
Okay.
And being around kind of like, the way I always describe it to Laura, because Laura obviously speaks to me when I've seen something traumatic or I've gone to something, but she hates thinking about it or talking about it, so it's a bit of a weird...
Okay, so you don't want to divulge too much information,
like,
but she wants to be there for you as well.
Yeah, exactly. She wants to make sure I'm all right and I'm not losing a screw in my head.
Sure.
But then also I'm aware that she doesn't necessarily... Not that anyone enjoys it, but she finds it hard to digest that information as well, so I don't want to go to town on it. But I've always, luckily enough, touch wood so far, been able to like separate it all. The only way I can describe it, and it might sound mad, anything that's that graphic. So one of the things we see, not often, but you see that's like blows my mind when you see it, is if someone has like a crushing injury or a heavy impact injury. So we had a woman who was involved in a collision with an Arctic lorry. She was a cyclist with an Arctic lorry.
A cyclist with a lorry?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
If you looked at her, apart from like a few scuffs and bruises, you would think she was fine.
Yeah.
It wasn't far from the station, so we got there relatively quickly. She was underneath the front of the, say like the front of the lorries like that. She was underneath the front, but not underneath the wheels, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So she'd been dragged underneath the front of it, but the wheels hadn't gone over her, so she wasn't like splattered everywhere.
Yeah. Ooh, Jesus.
So that explains like the cuts and bruises. She's kind of been dragged a little bit. They got her out, and anything like that they call HEMS onto, the air ambulance, because they are mustard, mate. They are like,
really?
Yeah, they are like SAS when it comes to the ambulance.
Wow.
So the LAS paramedics, the two of them there, were saying like, we think she's got internal injuries, because honestly, mate, to the eye, she looked, apart from a few scratches and that, she looked fine. So when we got there, we were semi-relieved, because when you get called to someone on the lorry, it's like, we could be going to anything. Yeah, there could be body parts everywhere. So when we got there and she was whole, intact, blah, blah, we were like, whee! But she wasn't breathing, she wasn't conscious, she wasn't breathing. So we started assisting LAS doing CPR. Because of where it was, my station's like bang in the middle of London. So it causes a scene, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's a bit busy junction, so there's cars everywhere. People in London, especially, I don't know if it's like everywhere, just film everything. As soon as there's like blue lights or drama, people just film. So you've got people like stepping over you, like trying to take a picture or trying to take a video. So we put these massive sheets up and create like a sterile zone kind of thing to stop people filming, but also to give us kind of like a sterile area to know like where you're working and what's going on. So you're doing CPR on her and they're like prepping her and getting drugs into her. You hear the air ambulance go over, so you know they're not far away. They park like wherever they can find to land. They get driven in by police and they come in and they do a thing. I don't want to get the name wrong because I'll sound like an idiot, but I'm sure it's called like a thoracotomy.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Someone Google that.
It's like a thorax, which is like the top.
Yeah, so the only way I can describe it is they basically cut your chest off.
Whoa.
So they like peel your chest away, pull your rib cage up and massage.
In front of you?
Yeah, and massage your heart with their hand because the CPR isn't doing enough to like pump the blood around your body. So the only way they can do it is to literally squeeze your heart to pump the blood.
So they're just, essentially doing what the heart's supposed to be doing by itself, but for you. Yeah.
So CPR is meant to be doing it for you, but if there's that much internal injury that it isn't happening. So I've seen that a few times, and that, to see someone who's relatively whole and looking all right, to ending up with your fucking chest off and being like someone's holding your heart, that's like a bonkers thing to see, do you know what I mean? But the only way I can describe it is it's so graphic that it's almost like not real.
Yeah, like you can kind of take yourself away from it
like
almost.
If you went to like a horror show, or
did like Holby City.
Yeah, literally that though. Like I know it's real, and I'm not saying it's not real, but it's that graphic that it's quite easy just to go like, it isn't.
It's like when your mind blocks something out.
I don't now attach that to being a human being who was a person, someone's mum, someone's sister, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't. I don't go through that thought process. I just see it as it's so graphic that like it's just mad. Like I've seen something graphic today. Like it doesn't really affect me like that.
Dude, so I mean, just those scenarios that you might have to go through on a day-to-day basis, I imagine like that kind of keeps you awake and driven regarding all that kind of side of things. But
Yeah, 100%.
is it like long term? Like you want to kind of commit to like firefighting and all that kind of stuff? Is it long term, or do you do you see an end to
question, that, isn't it? They might be watching this and see what I'm doing. No, like for me, I've done so many jobs. Like randomly, I feel like I always just fall into something and something just happens. Like I was working at a gym before I was in the fire brigade. I see the recruitment thing, and I've always just heard that it was like impossible to get into the fire brigade. So I thought like, oh, nothing to lose. I'll just put my name in the hat. And it took about a year to get through the recruitment. And I feel like because it took that long, I was kind of happy just to go like, oh yeah, I'll go on to the next bit, see what happens, but never really thought about getting in and doing it. So now that I'm in, I've done like, what have I done now? 5 and a bit years. Oh, like I'm sweet doing it, but money wise and that now, like if someone knocked on my door tomorrow and went, yeah, mate, here's $100,000 to come and do this for a year.
Okay.
Like I'm always open to, ideally, my goal in life is just to earn the most amount of money, have the nice house, have a nice, do you know what I mean? And just have that lifestyle.
Provide the life for the
exactly. And obviously being a firefighter is like, it's capped. So it's not like earning potential's there.
And yet you're seeing people with their chest off and their heart being massaged.
Exactly.
And it's like, oh, mate,
I enjoy the job, but if anyone's got $100,000 and want me to do anything,
you know where to find
let
him.
me know.
Don't Tell Mum podcast. Drop us an email. So being a dad and experiencing what it's like to become a father is honestly one of the most like incredible things. We can both kind of relate to that.
Yeah.
But what a lot of people don't talk about, and I think specifically dads, because women love a chin wag together, especially our missuses like to chat. So this is our opportunity, mate. Sex life.
Ooh,
right.
God.
So it's more just about becoming a dad. You are fully aware always that your missus like needs to be taken care of as much as the kind of your son or daughter does in those first few weeks, because they've gone through a majorly traumatic experience. Their, you know, organs have shifted, you know, there's potentially been stitches, there's been a lot of stuff that needs to be fixed, both like physically, mentally, all that stuff. How, as a dad, as a husband, as a boyfriend, how do you approach even instigating or kind of approaching reigniting your sex life after your missus has given birth? Because I feel like everyone is totally different, of course, but also I think we typically have this idea that it's always she will instigate it when she's ready, and I'm totally not against that. However, as kind of dads or, you know, husbands, boyfriends, we need to be more communicative, like with each other, to go, is it okay to start talking about it with our girlfriends and wives after they've given birth? You know what I mean? Because it's like, it's an integral part of a relationship, but also you don't want to overstep any kind of boundaries. You want to give them space and always make them feel ready. But how did that make you feel, even like attempting to like reignite that conversation?
I feel like I'm quite lucky because I just kind of like look at her a certain way and I can instigate it. I'm joking. Absolutely not. I feel like we're always quite open and like speak about sex, like quite like we're able to have a conversation about it. Like it isn't a weird like, oh, when do I bring this up?
Yeah.
So I feel like as soon as we got home after intensive care, because I'm sure she got stitched up, but it wasn't like a bad. I don't think it was a external tear.
Okay.
As in like.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It was like an intern. It was something inside rip, so they had to
Love how you're doing that.
No, I was trying to like picture where it was, but so she had like a few stitches inside. So we obviously spoke about that anyway. I was like,
how's it feeling?
Fuck?
Like,
your vagina has been stitched inside, like. So we were always, I was always kind of like checking on how she was doing. If it's like, do we have to go and get them out? Like, do they dissolve? Like, what's the crack with that?
So now?
Are they dissolved now? Or? So I always spoke about like, how's it feel? Like, does it feel different down there? Like, because I just can't imagine.
I can check for you.
I
got some making jokes about it, because this is actually like a serious, like, I was thinking about this before talking to you, and I was like, this is like it's a serious topic, because it's like, you never want to be that pushy guy. No. Especially after something like that. But then also it's like, when do we talk about this?
I feel like,
do we
don't
never
the health
talk about
visitors
this?
say something about like, because aren't you really fertile at a certain
Really,
like
like straight after.
Yeah.
So like you can get pregnant again literally weeks after. 'Cause
Yeah,
you're
but that to
super
me is
fertile.
mental.
That's scary.
Because how are you having sex that soon after?
Yeah, I don't understand how some people like. I can't even remember off the top of my head how long we waited, but even though Jamie's birth was relatively like smooth sailing,
Yeah.
we still like waited because it's also like a mental thing as
Yeah.
well. And you're so focused on being a parent, you're exhausted, you're up every 2 hours. You don't feel like having sex.
I feel like the only way to do it, there's obviously loads of ways to do it. This isn't the only way to do it, but I'm saying the only way to do it is to be that open that when you're talking about it, it doesn't feel like that's you trying to
It's not like
instigate.
taboo or like you prodding.
Yeah, because like if you say like, oh, can we talk about like having sex? That could be talking about having it in 6 weeks' time, or it could be talking about having it in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So as long as they don't take that as like, oh, why are you pressuring
Why-
me? Like,
yeah,
like, it's like,
exactly,
I just
yeah.
want to talk about it and see like where are you at?
Like, how
Is
are
it-
you feeling?
Is
Like,
it
yeah.
more mental than it is physical? Like
Yeah.
physically, do you feel ready? But mentally, you can't imagine something going in where the baby's just come out. Like, do you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
it must be mind-boggling, and I find it mad that
Yeah.
they don't even see that end of things.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I keep saying to Laura, I've seen things you will never see.
See things you could only
I've
dream
seen
of.
your body in shapes and sizes you will never see it again. But like, do you know what I mean? Because she just has to almost imagine it, which I think is worse.
Yeah, because she's probably imagining. Yeah.
But if she could see it, it's almost, it does the maths for you and you go, oh, okay, it's gone from that to that and now it's back to this, sweet. Whereas for her, she's just got like the pain and the feeling to go off to imagine like
Yeah.
what was actually happening down there, which I find mental. I would love her to like create a movie of what she thinks her like birth was like. Her labor
And then you're
was
like, no, it's 10 times
yeah,
worse.
me being like, not even close.
You haven't even scratched the surface. So I feel like you learn a lot about yourself becoming a parent as well. So like you've spoken about the things that you've had to like witness on the job and at home.
Yeah.
But you learn things about yourself. I think one of the main things that you learn, I think for me personally, but I think that this is a general rule of thumb when becoming a dad, is patience. The most stressful times of being a dad and, you know, being a father to Maddox, kicking, the screaming, the everything that kind of comes with it. What has been, if you can pinpoint it, what's been the most stressful time of being a dad and how did you cope with it? What was your coping mechanism?
I think
Please don't say heroin or something.
that's what I'm doing.
And I'm
right
like, how do I get out of this?
now. No,
Yeah.
I think it's the unknown.
Yeah.
So it's like it can be stressful getting up if he's like crying or doing something, or like it's stressful getting woken up or dealing with that noise anyway. But if you're doing everything that you think should be ticking the boxes to like alleviate it and it's still going on, that's when I feel like you're kind of at your wit's end because you've gone through everything you know, and then it's still like it's like a torture almost, because your body naturally doesn't want to be around loud noises, screaming, and then the kicking and punching, and do you know what I mean? Like everything in your body and your mind is going, get me away from this activity here.
Yeah.
But you have to kind of be there at the brunt of it and working out, how the fuck do I get this to stop now? If I've done my ABC, I don't know what
You
D,
just
E,
go
and
back
F
to
are.
A,
Like,
mate.
yeah.
You go back to A.
That's what I think. Those are the worst, especially in the middle of the night. Everything's just heightened.
So it's been when he was like really little. And
Yeah,
then
and more so because for me, I don't know what yours and Jamie's dynamics are like. I always feel like if I'm getting up, like I need to solve it because she needs to rest. There's no point both of us being awake, otherwise we both might as well go in. Do you know what I mean? Like if it's my turn to get up and she's sleeping, I want to nip it in the bud and get it done so she's not in bed going,
what's going on?
well, he's been crying for a bit
You're a
long.
shit dad.
What's Pax up to? Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's
always in the back of your head. It's always in the back of your head.
I'm
They're
going
gonna
what would
judge
she
me.
do in this situation? Am I doing what she would do? Am I missing something? Can I go in and ask her like, ooh, wiki wiki, wiki wiki?
I don't know what
he
to
won't
do.
stop
I've ticked the
crying.
boxes.
No, I definitely
Yeah,
have. A couple of times I've woken her up and taken him in and just gone, you're going to have to do something here because I've tried A to Z of my dad tricks and none of them are working.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. Mine was exactly the same. Mine was day 2. being home. Rocket screaming his head off. We've done feeding. It was breastfeeding at the time. And this is the problem with breastfeeding. The problem with breastfeeding is you never know how much milk they're getting.
Yeah.
So even when they're stopping, they might be stopping because they're tired, but they haven't actually really got anything out of you.
Yeah.
So then he's screaming his head off. We've done the, is he wet? Has he done a poo? Is he hungry? Gone through it. And he's screaming. And we call 111. And we're having a meltdown on the phone. I'm crying. Jamie's crying. The baby's crying. And we're like, I don't know what's going on. Someone help. Send help. And they're like, right, okay. Is he blue? No. Is he bleeding? No. Is he breathing? Yeah. Everything's there. And they're like, okay, try feeding him. And we were like, are you fucking stupid? We've been feeding him for the last like half an hour. What have you been doing? Breastfeeding. Right. Get a bottle. Got a bottle. Just guzzled the whole thing in 5 seconds and then straight to sleep. We were like, we felt like such dickheads.
Yeah.
And they were like, we have this phone call about 6 times a week. Don't worry about it. And I was like, oh, okay, fine. So that's how we coped with it. But yeah, I assume it's like a similar scenario that you went through as well.
Yeah,
like,
I feel like
in terms of just like, that's the most stressful time.
Yeah, it's shocking anyway, isn't it? Like going home with a baby and adjusting to it. But I feel like that whole screaming, crying thing, because everything in you, intuition-wise, just wants that to stop because it's like you don't want to see your baby crying. But then on top of that, the noise and like the distress just pushes you to like, I feel like I'm on SAS Who Dares Wins and it's like a test and people are going to jump out behind the curtains and go, you've made it. You're a top bloke, you can do this. Yeah.
You've made it, SAS.
And no one has yet, so... Hurry up.
Shame. If you're maybe still behind the curtain, mate. Just waiting. So we got to talk about like the more comedic moments that happen in parenthood as well. What's been your biggest dad fail that maybe Laura doesn't know about? So maybe she might find out by watching this. So I'm talking falling off the sofa. Have there been any blunders that you've been like, oh, glad no one was watching. I'm not going to tell anyone that one.
There's definitely been a few of them.
Mine had to be, my most recent one was probably, he was on the sofa with me and had a little cry. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to go make him a bottle. Instead, I actually just couldn't be asked to pick him up and hold him while I try and
do everything
feng shui, like making the bottle and having him in one arm and trying to screw the lid on with one hand. So I just wedged him in between 2 pillows on the sofa and he was just wedged watching TV. So I was like, okay, you're fine, you're fine. I just took 2 steps back to see if he'd move and he was just like that with his dummy in, but giving it a little, I was like, fine. I ran to the Tommy Tippy machine. I'm and looking over my shoulder to check down what's going on, like over by the sofa, can't see anything. Milk goes in, I'm screwing the lid on, and as I'm screwing the lid on and I look, I just see his little head leaning forward at the edge of the sofa. And so I just sprint to the other side, and as I get to him is when he just like 90 degrees, falls, lands on his head. All his body weight lands on his head and he rolls over and just and I'm like, fuck, I'm thinking his neck's broken. I'm like, I'm having a meltdown and he's fine. But that's probably my most recent dad fail. And Jamie, if you're watching this, that was me.
Has he got like
that's the cry you heard from downstairs. I
Like,
might be wondering why he's like naturally like this now. But yeah, that was mine. Go on, what's yours?
I think mine's pretty similar. I feel like, obviously people always say, like, if you take your eyes off them for a second, something's going to happen. But it's literally a second. Yeah. And, like, disaster happens. Like, we've got a baby gate at the bottom of the stairs that sits on, like, the first step. So when it's open, he can, like, sit on the first step type thing, but he's sat on, like, the bottom of the gate, if that makes sense. Yeah. So he's, like, sat on that, but because of the lip of the stair gate, his bum's obviously a bit lower than his legs. So I thought he was quite, like, almost like sitting in a seat. Yeah. He could, because it would take a lot for him to kind of hoik himself up and come off the first step. So he sat like that. I think I was getting his socks or something from the shoe cupboard, which is, if he's there on the steps, the shoe cupboard is here. So I was able to like have him there and go like, so I was like in and out like this. And I was like, right, get your shoe. And as I'm coming out of the shoe cupboard, mate, he's just hoiked himself up. And I just see him straightening up in the air and just, kunk.
Oh, face plant.
Like, and the noise was like a clap.
Oh.
So I've gone to pick him up and just blood streaming out of his nose. He's like cut his lip, like streaming though, mate, where I've like picked him up and gone, ah! So I've like gone over to the sink and I've got like kitchen roll on and he's like screaming his head off. Obviously, so there's like blood fucking splattering up the kitchen cupboards. Jesus. I'm like trying to hold it on him, thinking
it's like a scene from Texas
Have
Chainsaw
I killed him here? Like, do I actually need to ring someone? Do I need to ring Laura? Do I just hope that the bleeding's going to stop? Or
no.
But yeah, like it stopped bleeding and he was sound and he didn't break his nose or anything. Or do you know what I mean? But I remember thinking, if Laura like walked in whilst he was bleeding,
oh mate, it's game over.
She would never believe me that he's just like arsed off the step and like gone face first. She would think he's come like out the loft down the stairs, like smashed off the roof, because it looked like something out of Die Hard. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like oh yeah, he's just come off this tiny little step on the floor. It was like I've smashed him off the walls here.
Oh my God. All right, well, speaking of that, speaking of blunders, fails, we've got a segment exclusive to Don't Tell Mum. So to all you listeners out there, make sure you watch the clips, because this is called Hospital or Hero. Let me give you a bit of context before we go into this. Hospital or Hero is essentially, is Dad a hero and saves the day in this clip that we're going to show you? So we're going to pause it just before the climax of what happens in the video, and you got to guess, does Dad save the day, or is this a very brief trip to the hospital for the dad and his child? Let's go for clip number 1.
Hospital all day long.
Hospital all day long?
Hospital all day long. Smashed in the side of the head. Little tire mark on her face, I reckon.
Right, is this hospital trip or is Dad the hero? Dad saves the day! Comes out of right side of the screen. That's decent, isn't it?
Yeah, I respect that.
That could be a little cheeky cut on the finger, but better than a missing face for his daughter. Clip number 2. Bicycle kick off the top ropes. Does Dad come out and
so who's that aiming for now? The girl?
Well, you got to guess.
And the dad's out of shot, I'm guessing. I'm gonna go hospital again, because I want to see her get hit with a ball.
Bosh! Right on the tip of the nose.
Yeah.
That's a Maddox Baldwin.
That's a blood everywhere job.
Blood everywhere.
Meet the Fockers, volleyball to the face.
Yeah. Right, giant Jenga. For clip number 3.
Why are you putting him in that situation?
Is this a save or is this not?
I don't know how you can save from this. Is she going to try and block the blocks, or just pull the baby out the way?
This is the first thing. Like, it's not even Dad, it's Mum. So does
No
Mum
wonder it's happening. No bloody wonder. I reckon she's going to try and yoink him like towards her. So I reckon it's hero.
Ooh, let's have a look.
Oh! Sorry, boy.
And just hands go over the head after, like it's protected.
Hold it back together.
It's all right, I saved the day, don't worry, guys.
Oh, poor boy.
Clip number 4. Right, so top right of your screen, you see a kid.
Oh, on the shoulders.
What?
Oh, shit.
And kid falls off the shoulders at the checkout, self-checkout situation. This is Dad's back facing as well. So kid falls straight off the back of the shoulders. This is like a nightmare scenario for any dad. This is actually terrifying.
We've all been there.
So do you reckon this is hospital or hero?
I reckon it has to be hero, only because
it would be so graphic.
Yeah, that would be vicious to see that.
Because that's like a 6-foot drop.
Yeah, that would be watermelon onto the floor job.
Oh! Possibly the world's best dad save.
Dislocated hip, but the baby's all right.
This is sciatica for the rest of your life.
Jesus.
Clip number 5.
4, 3, 2, 1.
What's he doing? Just launching her into the air?
Launching her into the air. Is this a dad save?
Like onto something, or just upwards?
I guess
that looked like he was
Pax.
going like away from you.
What's your reckon?
Oh fuck! I reckon I'm gonna go hospital. He looks like a nutter. Where's that baby off?
Oh, God.
What's going on there?
If you hear in the clip, in the actual audio as well, when she lands, the mum goes, Joshua, like about the dad.
What did he think
like,
was going to happen?
Come on.
Throw her up and catch her. Yeah, don't just throw her and belly flop by yourself.
And to cleanse the palate, is this a dad save? Or is this a hospital job?
Here? So I reckon gonna go for a little grind and then come off the end, and the dad's gonna grab her by a ski. Oh!
Oh, you okay, bud?
Vicious.
And she just sat there like, you okay?
How's she not like in bits there?
That was like grinded on her face.
Yeah. Not to care, just sat there after. Like, oh, that was mental. Smashed your face off a grind bar.
Little do we know that that's actually Shaun White when he was a kid.
I was going to say, the skills.
That was Hospital or Hero, man. You were
Yeah.
the first ever guest to watch Hospital or Hero, and I think you got maybe 1 out of 6.
No, come on. 6 out of 6, I reckon.
Honestly, those are the kinds of things that every parent dreads to happen, but when you look back on it, you're like, that's just...
Yeah, at the
That's a
time,
gem.
it's horrendous.
That
where
is
you're like, I'm a
horrendous.
terrible parent. I'm going to get sued.
Yeah.
To now looking back,
Who's
and going,
watching?
He's all right. He only busted his nose open. It was only a bit of blood. But at the time, I remember thinking, I'm done.
Yeah,
This
when
is
you
it.
when you look back on that moment, it was just like...
health visitor on the door.
Yeah.
Oh, what's happened here? Oh.
Jeez.
He's all right.
So we got another little cheeky thing happening on Don't Tell Mum podcast, which is Karens in the comments. We've already mentioned a little bit earlier that on social media, especially for, people who post a lot of content that involves kids, it's so easy to have the experts in the comments. Oh, you've done this wrong and you've done this right. So we've got a little cheeky compilation of them right in front of me. I've got some pretty funny ones. So I'm just going to read a couple of them out to
Are
you and
these
see what
off
you think.
your...
No, not particularly off my social media, but this is just some stuff that we found where Karens have really gone off in the comments section, and either people have crucified them in the section, or it's just a bit ridiculous. We'll kick things off with this one, a little spicy one. My niece wants to know that if she donates her hair to Locks of Love, which is the charity organisation, and the recipient of her hair commits a crime and leaves a hair sample at the crime scene, will her DNA be all over the crime scene and thus incriminate her? She's 12. Oh, by the way, I don't know what
innit?
crimes.
12-year-old.
Don't know what crimes she's thinking of committing, but that's a question. And I thought I'd pose this to you as you work in the kind of in the scene. I'm not going to say
You're always at crime scenes.
I know you're not Luther, but you are effectively involved in those scenes.
Do you know
So
what? I've
fill me
never
in.
even thought about that. Yeah, but surely they could give this 12-year-old's hair to anyone. Doesn't have to go on to a 12-year-old, does it?
Okay,
So
doesn't
it could-
technically no, but
I wonder if... But surely if it isn't connected to you, does it still have your DNA on it? Or is it just
I
like
have
hair?
no idea. This is a question
I
I'm
think it would
posing
just
to
be
you,
like black
Pax.
hair. I reckon it goes, I'm going to say you're safe. Commit the
Safe.
crimes.
Commit the crime.
There's no
do the
DNA on
things.
hair that you donate. It's gone. It's washed away.
All right, we've got another one here that's a hack that this lovely lady put on Reddit and was like, if you have false eyelashes that are always getting wrecked, why don't you shove them in a Kinder egg? So we've got a little picture here. She's used a Kinder
I thought
egg.
you meant in like the
No,
chocolate.
so open up the
weird.
Kinder Egg surprise middle toy capsule. Chuck your eyelashes in there, and they won't get shredded if you chuck them in the bottom of your bag. They might get mucky and stuff like that. A Karen approaches the comments.
God.
I can't use a Kinder Egg because they're illegal in the United States. Do you think I could use it with my semi-automatic rifle instead? Because I can get one of those in Walmart.
Are Kinder Eggs illegal in the United States?
Yeah, because it's a choking hazard for a kid.
That's mental.
How? And she's just like, I can go and get a semi-automatic rifle. What, are you going to put your eyelashes in a semi? It's just like proving a point by
Yeah.
saying Kinder Eggs should be legal, but she's been a bit of a dickhead about
Yeah.
it.
Why? Like, so I can't believe Kinder Eggs are illegal in the United States of America.
It's just like when
Tell
you
me
just,
that.
I think
That's
it's
been made
it's
illegal.
also considering what is legal and what is illegal.
That's what I mean,
like
though. Who's made that? These, get rid of these. Illegal. Get rid of these Kinder Eggs. Guns and that. Nah, crack on, boys. Go to town.
Something that I feel like you might be fully aware of is there is a guy that surfs on Facebook. He goes around on Facebook and he creates fake customer service.
Yes.
I knew that you would know this.
Yes.
He creates fake customer service accounts and he finds Karens who've left a comment on a
love it so much.
on a particular like website or a
Yeah.
particular domain, and he will pretend to be the customer service and write a gem of a reply. And I've got a couple here to share with
Yeah.
you. So, Campbell's Soup, which is the
Yes.
soup that, is really famous, especially in the States, I believe. She's put, there is a commercial, I'll show you the picture, of two gay dads with their son, being happy as Larry. Screen grabs it and puts it on as a caption underneath and goes, "Your new commercial with two dads makes me sick." Campbell customer service likes to write underneath, "Hi Kim, if you're feeling sick, we suggest enjoying a delicious can of Campbell's chicken noodle soup. Make sure to enjoy it hot so that it can help warm your dead heart. I'm like, this guy's a genius, but it gets better. Customer support for H. Samuel in Birmingham.
Yes.
Bought my wife a ring from H. Samuel's in the Bullring Centre. I needed the ring resizing, so brought it back to be done. I was told it would take 3 days. When I went back to collect, they could not find my ring and was told they would contact me when found and would not give me a refund. Absolutely ridiculous. I've been waiting over a week and no one has given me any answers. Get my ring found or refund me. H.M. Samuel's customer support. All right, calm down, Frodo.
Quality.
Oh, just a little one-liner.
all you need.
Perfect after the
Ruined his day.
fucking essay that you put down. And to close things off, there was a terrible smell this morning at the entrance of the big Tesco store in Chesterfield near the customer service desk and the self-service checkout. Not a very nice thing to happen to you when you're shopping for food. Tesco's customer support. Rumour has it, Linda, who works in self-service checkout, gambled on a fart and it didn't fall in her favour, if you know what I mean. We had to lend her some tracksuit bottoms from lost property and everything. Soz. He's just a fucking genius, this guy.
Yeah,
Hats off
quality.
to that.
Yeah.
Hats off to
Big
that.
time.
Bloke.
Big
I've
fan.
got to say.
Big
fan.
fan
of fake customer support because we're going to have a couple of those, I think, on each episode of Don't Tell
100%.
Mum.
Busting my kid's nose open.
I mean, Pax, what have you learned today on Don't Tell Mum podcast? Have you learned about parenthood? Dishing out all these stories has been pretty helpful for a lot of people at home because it lets people know that they're not alone in their endeavours as a parent. But the highs and the lows are so drastic that I feel like most dads would agree that they wouldn't change it for the world. You know?
Yeah, I feel like as much as with like all the things that can happen and every answer you can always say like everyone's journey is so different. I think the main thing for me is remembering and having that constant thing of like not everyone's going through it, but there's so many people going through it. So like hearing your story about Rocket falling off the sofa, makes me feel not as bad as, do you know what I mean? And if that's only us two, like, do you know what I mean? Like I'm guessing every newish dad out there has these blunders and these things and these thoughts. So it's those moments of thinking like it isn't just happening to you.
Yeah.
The crying, the screaming, the smashing their face open, like all of that. There's so many other people going through it that, like, not to normalise it, but it definitely makes me feel like, oh, actually, I'm doing all right here. Like
talking about it is always like communication is always just like the number one thing,
100%.
just full stop, whether it's within your relationship, outside of your relationship. Like I have a couple of mates who I feel like I can confide in, not even confide in, but just talk about stuff that is either, you know, pissing me off or I, if there's something that I feel like I just need to get out, but you know, talking to Jamie might not cut it and I need to just have even a humorous conversation about something that's gone really wrong. It's always nicer for them to go, yeah, been there. Especially when they got kids that are maybe slightly older.
100%. When they've got kids, it's like they can give you an actual bit of, not advice, but just listening. You know they've either been through it or they've been in a similar situation. Whereas I feel like the ones without kids are a bit like, all right, mate, boring. Boring story, move on.
Well, to close it off, I want you to tell me, in Maddox, in your little boy's current state, how he is right now, what he enjoys, what he loves doing, who would play Maddox in a Hollywood movie right now, in an adult form. Let's just say in an adult form, because I'm not expecting you to think of all the child actors that are out right now.
No, the 14-month-old
and
actors.
Why? And
okay.
why?
I'm trying to think. I think, right, there's a bit at the end of one of the Toy Stories.
Okay.
In the credits, like it's not even part of the film. I think it's number
You've watched
3.
it that many times.
Oh, mate, he loves Toy Story like it's his thing. And there's a bit in the credits where Buzz has been turned Spanish.
Yes.
And he dances with Jessie in like a salsa thing, like they proper start dancing and the music changes. And it's You've Got a Friend in Me, but in like a strummy guitar thing. And whenever he sees that, mate, he goes mental. He's like waving his arms around, like screaming. So I feel like he might be a salsa dancer. I feel like this is going to be the thing when he's older and he's on like Strictly Come Dancing or something. We go, tell you what, when you used to watch Toy Story, we bloody knew you were going to be a ballroom dancer. So I'm going to go. So I need someone blonde. Who's like good looking, ripped. I don't really know any blonde.
Is this Brad Pitt territory? We're talking about blonde and good
looking. I want to go
looking.
younger. I want to go like, we could dye someone's hair, I suppose.
Yeah.
Or a wig.
We're going in deep here.
Yeah, I want to get this
What
right.
suggestions from the crowd? Zac Efron.
Oh, no, but he's like a machine now, isn't
You
he?
just said ripped.
Yeah, no, but I was saying ripped, but I don't know if he'd be ripped, actually. We could go Zac Efron.
Nick Frost in Cuban Fury.
That's probably going to be closer to it, my genetics. But yeah, no, I'll go Zac Efron in a blonde, either blonde hair.
So blonde High School Musical-esque Zac Efron, but blonde, yeah.
Like that hair, like that.
With the comb over, the slight
Big
brush
time.
over.
100%, but blonde.
God, I bet he looks back on High School Musical and just
Loves it.
Loves
it, mate. Big fan.
Huge fan.
Parents, we are all in this together.
Oh,
Come on.
Pax, thanks so much for being on Don't Tell Mum. I
Anytime,
really appreciate it, mate. Right. Yeah. Right. Thank you so much for listening and watching this episode. If you enjoyed it, please follow this podcast on whatever platform you use. It really does help. For more content and to keep up to date with all the most recent releases of the Don't Tell Mum podcast, hop over to Don't Tell Mum on TikTok and YouTube. See you soon, and remember, shh, don't tell mum.